Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and a warm welcome to today's webinar, which is brought to you by Shared Services Link in association with PRGX. Today, we're looking at 3 actions a shared services organisation should take to drive healthier margins. My name is Susie West. I'm the founder and CEO at Shared Services Link, and I'm delighted to be introducing 2 presenters today. So we're joined by Dawah Al-Sayada, who is the Global Director, Source to Pay and Commodity Management Services at ADM. So great to have Dawah with us. And David Brown, who is Vice President, Audit Operations at PRGX. So I'll be handing over to David shortly. Thanks for joining us today. It's always great to have you with us. And it'd be great if afterwards you want to download a copy of the slides, you're very welcome to. You'll be able to listen to the recording shortly after this webinar as well on sharedserviceslink.com. Feel free to share it with your team. And if you like our webinars, please spread the word. Let your peers know about us and our webinars on LinkedIn, or just share with your teams internally. It's always great to have you and your teams with us. Regarding questions, we really welcome your questions. So pop those through to me and I will put those questions to David and Dawah in the last few minutes of this webinar. Let's have a look at the context for today. And some of you may just have been in shared services a few years. Others of you may been in shared services for up to 3 decades. So shared services as a model has been around for 25 years. So they were the early adopters in the mid to late 1990s. And the main focus back there was cost reduction, cost reduction, cost reduction. It was all about purely transactional savings. So that's where the shared services organisation focused it, but put its focus in the back office and typically started with back office finance. That was where the biggest opportunity was. As we've seen the years go by, so 2000 onwards, 2000 to 2015, there was a much deeper focus for these enterprise organisations on process improvement. That's when the global process owners began to step in. That's when the GBS organisations started to appear. Or obviously in the early to kind of 2000 period, that's when BPOs started to emerge as well. So offshoring and outsourcing, deeper focus on process improvement followed, and looking at end to end. So with this focus came the greater ability to scale your operation. Today now is the heightened age of, or an age of heightened automation. We have so many tools at our fingertips. It's now time to be optimizing those tools, using those tools as much as possible. There's only so much we can do. Our ceiling is fairly limited if we don't go down the route of automation. And many of us know we need to do the process improvement first, or much of it first, before we can actually dig into the automation piece. But once we are in a good place, or part of our organization, shared services organization, is ready, it's time to automate. There is no argument against that. So with automation comes the exciting ability to reach, to scale in a significant way. And this is what we're seeing now. We're seeing shared service organizations take that reach and go into any part of the organization that the shared services organization can serve. This means going beyond transactional and even beyond middle finance. It means reaching into other parts of the organization that a shared services that the shared services partner can actually offer help and support, insight, expertise, excellence. So what we're going to be doing today is we're going to be focusing on 3 actions that shared services organizations can take to actually positively impact your profit margin. So this is quite a shift. This is very much a shift from where shared services began their lives, which was just focusing on reducing transactional costs. So exciting time for us. So now let's do a poll question. Coming up on your screen now, what is your primary motivation for attending this webinar? Would you say it is seeking strategies to improve operational efficiencies, to explore opportunities to enhance profit recovery and reduce costs, because you're wanting to learn how to leverage insights for financial optimization. So, or maybe there's something else that we haven't listed here. So what's your number one, just choose one please, primary motivation for attending this webinar today? Seeking strategies to improve operational efficiencies, explore opportunities to enhance profit recovery and reduce costs, or learn how to leverage insights for financial optimizations, or other. Closing the poll in 3, 2, 1. Let's have a look at the results. They're coming up on your screen. Actually, no, we're going to look at the results later in a couple of slides. So just hold on to that question, if you will, and we will refer back to it in a couple of slides time. And now I'd like to hand over, please, to David.
Thanks, Susie, appreciate it. So what we wanted to talk about, as Susie said, we wanted to talk about unlocking profit, and really 3 actions you can take to drive healthier margins from a shared services perspective. So for today's agenda, I'd like to cover the importance of shared services in profit generation, and the 3 actions of the best-in-class AP audit program, accelerating digital transformation to get ahead, and providing actionable business insights. We'll also cover with Dawah some success story and some future opportunities. So first, let me start with the role of shared services in profit generation. As soon as Susie kind of covered a lot of this, but we kind of think of this as the foundation. As she mentioned, 30 years ago, really started to gain momentum, and they built out back office functions. IT, finance, HR. Shared services centers were kind of set up across low-cost locations to drive cost savings. But really, also at that time in the 90s, there was globalization that was accelerating, right? So not only did companies set up shared services, but they set up multiple shared services centers across the globe to support their global operations. Then, as phase 2 shifted in, later on into the 2010s, and it was more about process ownership, taking the full end-to-end process and bringing that knowledge and building out those capabilities into the shared services environments. So this wasn't all about cost reduction. It was more about process standardization, improving service quality, and driving some reporting. We also saw a change of people referring to shared services organizations to kind of GBS, global business services. So there was more than just back office, right? It was customer service, it was R&D, it was analytics departments, right? That changed. Now what we're seeing is what we call value creation, right? So Susie mentioned accelerating and advancing and elevating shared services organizations. So as these organizations continue to mature, these best-in-class organizations are becoming like strategic partners. They're providing insights, being more proactive, really leveraging technologies such as RPA, machine learning, and AI to further help business leaders make strategic decisions. What we can see for future of GBS or shared services organizations, it's going to be characterized by continuous innovation, right? You're going to get more strategic by providing more value. These technologies are going to become increasingly integrated into the everyday functions of shared services organizations. And with that, we believe that companies are going to become more reliant on shared services organizations to support strategic initiatives through the actionable insights that are provided. To better understand how shared services organizations kind of fit in the overall companies, we wanted to talk to CFOs and understand their perspective. So in talking to our client CFOs and CFOs around the world at different forums and different webinars and different sessions, it kind of came down to 3 key focus areas from a CFO's perspective. Now, the first one is cost efficiency. Now, this has been around since the very beginning when shared services was developed. Drive cost savings, operational efficiencies, help streamline processes, delivers economies of scale, right? This is always going to be around, even in the future migrations. That's going to be high on the list of what CFOs are expecting. The second one is around data accuracy and insights. So delivering reporting with high quality, on time, and ensuring that they meet regulatory requirements. Again, this goal has been around from the beginning, but it's shifting from more of a reactive and here's what happened view to a more, hey, here's what might be happening, here's actions you can take, to move your business forward. And the last thing is a strategic partnership. They want to view their shared services organization or GBS organizations to be identifying ways to drive revenue, not just report on revenue. This is where having quality data is really important to access things and drive rapid feedback as part of the business process. Now that we've covered a little bit about kind of the history of shared services organization and the CFO's perspective, let's talk about how we can elevate shared services. So shared services organizations usually own the end-to-end transactional data, or if not, portions of the transactional data. This would cover like financial records, transactional data, and you use this for a variety of things such as reporting, analytics, process optimization. Increasingly, though, this data is being used to elevate the shared services position within the organization, providing more strategic support. So by integrating this and cleansing this data, it's providing new opportunities for shared services organizations to provide valuable insights. Another way that shared services organizations kind of can elevate their brand or their positioning is to be using advanced technologies, right? We mentioned machine learning and artificial intelligence, and Susie mentioned automation of repetitive tasks and improved decision making. There's also been huge advancements in the last 2 to 3 years around NLP, natural language processing, really to get into extract information from unstructured data, right, which hasn't been a source of reporting and insights, right? Things such as emails, contracts, and other sort of unstructured documents. By taking and combining unstructured data with structured data, you now have a really good insight into the kind of the whole picture, and you can start to provide much better insights on trends, KPIs, and providing kind of business information where they can make decisions both confidently and rapidly. Another way is to leverage technology around like contract analysis, and this will help with monitoring risk and identifying assessments. In order to do this, you need to be able to scale, right? You need to be able to use this technologies. You can look at one contract, but in order to scale, you need to leverage technology to drive this across the entire organization. And last, shared services organizations, again, back to the number one goal for CFOs, is always going to be about cost optimization. So by looking at new technologies to automate these things and processes, it can free up shared services organizations' resources to do more strategic and higher value activities, right? Not just processing invoices through through your workflow, but understanding what that means and giving better feedback. So strategically understanding these areas allows for you to be more agile, and that will in turn drive cost savings. So understanding kind of what CFOs want, how we can elevate shared services organizations, we believe there are 3 key actions that a shared services organization can take to kind of meet and exceed these challenges. So the first one is to implement a comprehensive AP audit program. So let's talk about that one first. A great way to kind of elevate and understand your process is to conduct an AP audit. One of the primary benefits of an AP audit is to uncover hidden profits. So you'll find leakage points, you'll be able to uncover overpayments, duplicate payments, billing errors, and by examining all of these records, such as supplier purchase orders, invoices, payment records, you can reclaim funds that were kind of missed or leaked throughout the processes. Another benefit is process improvements. So through these leakage points or through these errors, you'll identify process areas that need to be improved or that there's inefficiencies, right? And then from that point, you can take, looking at a reactive look back, you can take proactive measures to streamline operations going forward. A third, in addition, there's like more, there could be some compliance assurance or contract compliance opportunities, right? To ensure that you're in compliance with regulatory requirements, internal governance policies, and dealing with your suppliers. By validating these supplier contracts and understanding discount terms and organizational requirements, you can avoid potential fines in some cases, and avoid legal disputes and reduce supplier abrasion. Working closely with data and product teams throughout my career, I'm really passionate about data. And throughout these processes from an AP audit, you really gain a lot of insight into your data. So data, one of the #1 things we're seeing across, analyzing all these data features and understanding the payment pattern, understanding spend trends, there's more you can understand about cost optimization, how you can negotiate better terms, how you can reduce grievance vendors, grievance suppliers, transactions. So those types of things are really important when you look at improvement opportunities. So from the audit, you also get a bunch of insights. So let me talk about some of the insights that we gain from the process. So often there's a bunch of different error types that we identify, but from our audit processes, what we see from our tech-enabled profit recovery services is there generally can be bucketed into 5 top root causes. So the 5th one is system and process issues. So inefficient or too complex processes yield leakage points. This definitely contributes to errors, discrepancies. Also, if you have older, outdated systems, which can be, there's a lot of manual workarounds in some of these, right? If you haven't migrated to SAP or Oracle, or you have legacy systems, or you're capital constrained, this increases the likelihood of errors. The 4th one is lack of internal controls. Inadequate controls really can increase the risk of error and really fraud, right? If you don't have proper approval processes, you don't have stringent onboarding for vendor or supplier through a portal, companies can leverage this for some errors that might happen through the process. The 3rd error is poor communication with suppliers. This often is incomplete data, incomplete pricing documents, and then that gets handed off to the AP departments, and then that also leads to errors. The 2nd one is incomplete documentation. So it's, if you have a purchase order that's not complete, you have receipts that aren't complete when you're trying to match that against invoices at the plant level, this definitely contributes to errors. It can be challenging to verify the accuracy for accounts payable departments, shared services organizations, or processes if that data is missing. And the #1 thing that we generally see is still driven down to system and process issues by human error. So again, if you have missing incomplete data, you have poor system processes, when a human goes to process these things, there still can be errors. And so this might be as simple as a transposition error when you're keying it, or if there's manual override that they are trying to get something processed, it drives it through, and that lends itself to errors. So now I'd like to talk about a specific case study with ADM, and I'd like to welcome Dawah to talk about his perspectives in leveraging an AP audit. Welcome, Dawah, and thank you for joining us.
Thanks, David. Thanks for this invitation, and also allowing me to share some insights from our perspective. So first of all, my name is Dawah Al-Sayada. I'm responsible for source to pay globally for ADM, and also responsible for commodity management services. Maybe a little bit of an uncommon terminology, commodity management services. So also good to know ADM is basically having 3 businesses in ag services, oilseeds, carbohydrate solutions, and nutrition. And basically we source agricultural product, we process, and we also transform them into food. So what we call a lot about internally is also that we produce from farm to fork, basically. And in that context, basically we want to be as GBS, we have evolved also within ADM, where we started as a shared service center. Currently, we have operations in Brazil, North America, EMEA, and also in APAC, so really a global presence. We have, not so long ago, also engaged with a BPO and outsourced a part of our activities. But we are continuing to evolve basically in that sense. And David already mentioned lots of things which are high on my agenda. But basically, especially in the inflationary environment we are today, we want to be the productivity engine basically for the organization. So how can we beat inflation basically? And how do we create end-to-end processes that really create value for the business, optimize margins? So how can we unlock value basically for our stakeholders by really doing continuous improvement and also looking at data to share that basically with them so that they can make better decisions, or that we basically can work better together with customers. So we have a lot of access to data, and with that we can share insights, but also take decisions which make us better. So 3 focus areas basically for us, and that is really driving process excellence from an end-to-end perspective. Like David said earlier, we really want to eliminate waste basically. ADM also in the last 10 years has grown exponentially, I would say, and that comes with a lot of integrations. We're doing the second pillar of our activities is what we call One ADM Enablement. We want to implement S4HANA. We work currently with a lot of legacy systems, like David said earlier, not easy. And for that, we need to basically integrate those operations, but we also need to make us ready for that transition into S4HANA. Last but certainly not least is we need to build capabilities in our people, data mining, data analytics. How do we deal with system? How do we do continuous improvement? So really upscaling basically the whole GBS organization to be ready for today, but also for the future. But I think, David, you also had a few other questions besides my introduction.
Well, no, that was great, and I really appreciate it. So as it talks about your goal number 1, I think becoming the best shared services GBS organization you can be. Maybe tell me a little bit about how an AP audit informed your processes there and thinking and your experience with an accounts payable audit.
Yeah, that's a good question. I mean, originally, of course, we did already AP auditing through the traditional external audits we are exposed to, but also internal audits through our own internal audit organization. But we also noticed that we had to go one step further and also much deeper. So we engaged back in 2020 with PRGX, and we started that process in North America because we really needed a partner basically who has the skills and the experience, but also the tools in that sense. As I said earlier, we have a lot of legacy systems, and basically PRGX helped us to data mine and data explore our AP process, and it's amazing then where you might have the impression that you already have good or strong processes. So they came up with 19 different errors, and David showed 5 errors before in that area. So even 19 and really recognizable, whether it's around people, whether it's around systems. But before we went there, you need to go through this challenge of making the data available so that PRGX can use it in their tool. So that gives some challenges. But basically the good surprise was that we were doing better than the industry. So it was not that we had a lot of duplicate payments, but I think more important was that we discovered that we can improve the processes a lot. So to give an example, one process we improved. So what we found out, or which we knew basically, was already that we are processing multiple payments out of different payment systems. And what we have now done is basically combine on the backside of that, of those payment system, a database where we can combine all those data sets and can quicker recognize that we have a duplicate payment. Because sometimes in a big organization, you see that a vendor sends an invoice to a location, but also to a central point. And yes, they get both sides approved, and they also get processed on both sides. So really something where I think PRGX gave us insights where, based on that, we could make those improvements and work on our side on how to do that.
Sorry, there's just some background noise. That's great. When you look at some of the insights that you got around your processes, maybe could you expand on some lessons learned or some other things that you were able to kind of take back to the organization?
Yeah, I mean, also what you find out through this AP audit is that you believe that certain processes are still working, and they are not. You believe that certain controls are taking place, but yeah, in an environment where you also have a lot of legacy system, and I think you called it out, David, you're also dependent on people, because people have a lot of knowledge, people have a lot of skills. So through turnover sometimes within the organization, you might lose some skill set, and also some controls are being ignored or yeah, basically get not done anymore. So we had to reinstate also certain controls. We had to reinstate some reports which were broken. They were not working anymore. And even if people have escalated that, sometimes you see that through your own global technology environment that also there it's not being worked on, or yes, you will get it later. So with this findings of the audit, we could also put more pressure on saying, hey, this is important, this needs to get fixed, basically. We cannot wait for this and address that.
That's great. I'm glad that's you're being able to get those insights from the process. Maybe we could also talk a little bit about what you're looking to do kind of in the future, right? So we've done an audit for 3 years. We're working on some of the processes. We have ongoing feedback loop through the audit, right? Because we're continually assisting review. But maybe from your perspective, either with the audit or even further with technology, something you're looking to do, you know, to keep validating your process and improving.
So one thing we're currently working on together with you is basically expanding scope. So we started in North America, not so strange. I mean, that's the biggest part of our operation, biggest spend also. And with PRGX, we thought, okay, it's easier to start than in North America. But we are now, we have already gone through EMEA. We're doing that now. We are expanding to South America also. So basically, scope expansion is one thing, and the other thing what we're trying to work on, and again, that is not always easy. As I said earlier, we're working on implementing S/4HANA. So in the meantime, before we get there, I already want to introduce other tools to have more auditing embedded in our current legacy systems. But what I struggle with, and to be honest to this audience also, is yeah, to get support from global technology, because they are focusing on the future, and their answer is, okay, why would I do something in our legacy system? Plus, sometimes, of course, it's also about the risk around the legacy system. I mean, do you want to change there something which might destroy something else? And I mean, the risk element there is a factor to take in. So we solve a lot of things around that with, call it controls around Power BI. So taking data extracts, and then basically with our own tools trying to do the right matching. But ideally, I would like to do something else. So it's really around scope, David, and not so much in, okay, can I really embed other things besides the continuous process improvements, what I said earlier.
Well, I mean, again, I thank you for, you know, your time here and expanding upon that. and your processes and your experiences, with an AP audit. When companies go through system changes, right, from legacy to SAP or SAP to a different version of SAP, we have lots of clients that we have experience who are on SAP. So we can certainly connect, your teams with other companies as that comes up, as well as it's a really good check in place when you have an accounts payable audit in place during that transition, because we see high rates of error, especially during the first 4 months of transition, where there's just a lot of activity going on. You're trying to pay your suppliers. And so that extra external check sometimes can give you real-time feedback, especially around duplicates. Hopefully that can be kept to a minimum, but we've seen that at pretty much every single client who transitions from a legacy to an SAP Oracle. So thank you very much for your time. I really appreciate it. If you don't mind hanging on, I think there may be some audience questions for you, later on. So why don't you please stay with us. I'd like to turn it over to Susie to kind of cover the first poll question and maybe a second poll question.
Great. Thank you so much, David. So coming up on your screen, you'll remember the poll that we asked earlier, and here are the results. So it was, what was your primary motivation for attending this webinar? And here are the results. So in winning position, we have those that are seeking strategies to improve operational efficiencies. In a close second place, those that are learning how to leverage insights for financial optimization. And third place, those that are looking to explore opportunities to enhance profit recovery and reduce costs. So let's move on to our second poll, please. This should be coming up on your screen now. So which area, if you could just select one, please, which area of shared services transformation do you find most challenging today? Would you say it's optimizing the accounts payable process, leveraging digital transformation for efficiency gains, cultivating strong supplier relationships, or identifying actionable insights from transactional data? Out of those, there's a mix there, but which one would you say is the biggest struggle for you right now for your shared services organization? We're on about 39% of you responding. The earlier poll, we were just over 80%. So if we could get a slightly higher participation, which area of shared services transformation do you find most challenging? Optimizing AP processes, leveraging digital transformation for efficiency gains, cultivating strong supplier relationships, identifying actionable insights from transactional data, or something else? Closing the poll in 3, 2, 1. I think we'll just go ahead and share these results right now. Let's have a look coming up on your screen. So 44% of you are saying that you're struggling with identifying actionable insights from transactional data. I had a feeling that might come out as the winner. 32% of you talking about struggling with leveraging digital transformation for efficiency gains. And in third place, 24% of you talking about how you're struggling with optimizing AP processes. So thanks for that. Back to you, please, David.
Yes, thank you very much. Well, that poll result kind of lines up with action number 2, which is accelerate digital transformation. So in order to really drive and give more feedback and insights to your business units, you need to accelerate your digitization of shared services. So the first area is data integrity, right? Ensuring the data is accurate, it's complete. Again, to me, data is kind of like one of my things I kind of focus on, working with product and strategy throughout my career. So it needs to be organized. It needs to be the foundation for making one source of the truth, kind of with your data being all together and holistic. Second, you need to have technology to support that, right? Dawah, you talked about investing in legacy systems versus transition to new, but having the new technology in place and infrastructure is really going to help support how you can modernize your systems and your processes. The third is to have tools and platforms. Adapting these platforms really drives efficiencies. ERP systems like converting to SAP. There's workflow automation solutions out there. There's document management solutions out there, self-service portal. So there's a lot of information out there, but you really need to focus on what your strategy is and adopt that as part of this journey. The next one is change management. So this, I include this in because I don't think you can overlook this, right? As you change to digitization initiatives, you have to, there's that kind of a cultural shift of this is what I was doing to here's what I'm going to do. There needs to be training, and these training and kind of management initiatives are really essential to make sure that the employees, buy in and adopt these technologies, right? And the last, but it's not least, but last on my list here is, as we move into this digital age and we're putting everything online, you need to have security measures in place to make sure that you're compliant with your internal policies as well as external regulations. This means you need to have rigid protocols, encryption technologies to safeguard data, right? So kind of by focusing on these key areas, these 5 key areas, we believe shared services organizations can really, accelerate their initiatives and improve their operational efficiencies. As I mentioned, data is kind of my passion, and I want to spend a little bit more time talking about data integrity, right? So I've worked on and been participating in audits for many years across hundreds of clients and all across the globe. And this is still the critical foundational piece. Even though I mentioned 5 different root causes before, human error, processes, kind of at the core of that is data, right? So the integrity of the data, and understanding and having good governance and protocols is really integral for opportunity identification, right? So are there ways that you can leverage new technologies such as AI? Well, in order to do that, you have to have really clean and clear-cut data and everybody using it the same way and able to drive that and capitalize on it. The second is when you look at having a data structure in place in order to try to mitigate risk, you need to be able to make sure the data is organized, it's categorized and stored in a systematic manner, right? This structure will then help identify these potential risks and anomalies. In addition, governance and security measures really reduce the like breaches and unauthorized access. A third thing also is creating a feedback loop, right? So you need to have a way to get the findings throughout the process, the continuous process, back and train the data, right? For example, in our processes, like for our duplicate payment routines, we run duplicate payment routines, we work them through with our clients, and we get specific feedback for that client, right? And then we take that feedback and we feed it back into our both our machine learning and AI processes, so that we can, for that client, we can specifically find and hone in on more areas of leakage. And so then we can go back to the clients and not only recover those things, but we can also go back and they can improve their processes around those really finite areas. When you're talking about leakage points, we're still talking about being in a Six Sigma, like 99.9% accurate, but these other leakage areas can add up to significant savings. So we've talked about kind of, the first 2 actions of how we can drive healthier margins, right? Implementing an AP audit and accelerating digitization. So now I'd kind of like to talk about, how we providing actionable insights to the business, right? So when we work with our clients through AP programs, our clients are often asking us, you have all our data, what else can you do? How can you be more strategic? What else can we provide them, right? So we've gone down a journey with them to kind of help and provide more meaningful insights, leveraging this technology. We focus on like 4 key areas, working with clients and their data based on what they've expressed their interests. The first is working capital optimization. Working capital is, again, going back to what CFOs want. It's a crucial metric, and ensuring cash flows are there, and maximizing ROI is always important. The second is rapid spend and payment insights. You should be able to get insights that are real time or very accelerated, live, frequent, and are relevant to current discussions, business discussions. The third is contracts and contract insights. So contracts are kind of like the lifeblood of any business. but managing them with that, with advancing contract management systems and processes and all the technology out there can be complex. PRGX is on a journey with many of our clients to bring a better contract management process to identify points of leakage, future saving opportunities on the way you can craft contracts, and also mitigate risk with the language you have in those contracts. We're not going to focus on that topic today. We'll probably have another webinar later with our contract compliance group, but that's something that we are seeing a lot of action in the market, and they are wanting actionable insights specifically on that. And the last kind of actionable insight is around streamlining business processes, which Dawah mentioned is a continuous process, right? If there's inefficiencies or there are bottlenecks, this kind of stunts growth and innovation, right? So I'd like to go in a little bit more detail on the first two actions around working capital and spend and payment insights. So working capital, as I said, is an important metric for CFOs. There's a variety of ways, including like inventory management, to kind of impact working capital. But focusing on the AP data, comparing like history against what you're expected can show these gains and losses. So with our solution, it kind of starts with identification. What has occurred and what was expected. From there, you can drill down to specific categories and suppliers and identify the greatest opportunities for savings. From there, you would model it out. So our tool allows it's a very simple tool for sliding bar, putting in different requirements you want, putting in from different days, what kind of savings you want to achieve. And then that can assist with kind of the target that you're going after. Once you've kind of figured out what suppliers, what categories, and what you're trying to save, then you would conduct an outreach and go after those particular savings with the supplier community. We can assist at all throughout that entire process. The last step, but a critical step, is to then come back and continuously monitor that on an ongoing basis so that you can see those results real time. So we get the data fed back in, and as those changes that you expected to occur, did what you changed actually yield what you thought in the ROI? The next section I'd like to talk about is spend and payment insights. So on the spend side of what we have, what we're looking for is to drive really meaningful ROI. So we talk about spend fragmentation, spend rationalization, supplier management, performance of those suppliers, and terms optimizations. So we leverage our expertise across many ERPs. So we have legacy systems that none of you have ever heard of. Many of you have legacy systems, SAP, Oracle, Workday, JDE, a number of systems that we deal with. So we aggregate all of this data and we can create savings modeling, right? And we can provide down to the detail PO level and line level insights into this data. On the payment side, in addition to the working capital that we've kind of talked about, again, the key here is aggregating all of this data, right? Our expertise is bringing in all this data to kind of use our tech-enabled profit recovery services, and then that's, from action one, but we use the same data and we can get insights for driving spend, more payment insights. So you can address things such as early payments, cash discount analysis, terms harmonization across multiple systems if you have regions all over the world in different systems, those sort of things. In addition, I kind of wanted to mention a few other things that have come up from a bunch of clients around features that we now offer around supplier cleanse and supplier verifications. There's also something specific for the UK and our APAC clients around duty to report, and we offer services there. So now let me kind of talk about a couple case studies from these insights on spend and payment. So the first one is on spend share change. So in this case, we had a company that was growing really fast, and they wanted to understand where they were spending all of their money across their categories. And so this particular example is about where they were using professional services. So in looking at this, their spend for professional services increased by 15%, and as an overall percentage of all their spend, it increased by 2.5%, which was greater than all of their other categories. So this wasn't necessarily something they knew, and so they were able to understand this, and really, is this driving, in a growth situation, is this driving what they expected? And the second example I wanted to talk about is spend visibility. So we classified all of the spend, looked at it into the categories that this client wanted, and looked at history versus current and what their objectives were. So in this case, they were looking at their brand spend, their internal brand spend, and it increased by $3 million year over year, which was a 30% increase. They really hadn't intended this to be their goal, and so they were going back and revisiting the results of that against their sales. If we talk about a couple case studies on payment, early payments. So in this case, there were, you can look at across the board, there's always early payments and late payments on suppliers. In this case, there was one set of terms set up for a supplier, and they had different terms by plants. And so in this case, the system couldn't handle multiple terms. So 14% of their invoices coming from that plant had the wrong set of terms that were being paid. So all of those invoices were being paid early. So we were able to go back and work with the finance company, the finance department, so that they had a working capital impact of about $240,000. And the last one from a payment insight is around cash discounts. They had wanted to move to extending terms. So in this particular case, they extended their terms from 1% 14 to net 31. So they were happy that the days moved back and they were gaining 17 days. But as you look at an analysis and kind of went into the details, they gained capital, by pushing out the terms, but they lost cash discount. So the net of the transaction, which they thought was going to yield them based on their initial purchase estimates at the beginning of the year, was supposed to give them a gain, but it ended up giving them a loss. So the business was able to go back and work with that supplier and extend the terms, the net terms, even farther to offset that potential gain. So I kind of want to, summarize this up across these three actions. So, I believe you all probably see value in these three actions and how critical they are to take. So just to kind of recap, one, start an AP recovery audit program, right? It can really deliver a lot of meaningful insights, and it's foundational for kind of processes to get stronger and position you to be a strategic partner within the context of the organization. Two, accelerate digital transformation. We'd expect most of you to be already on this journey. There's a lot of technology out there. This needs to be a priority for organizations. And third, deliver actionable insights, right? Have sets of tools. We have sets of tools that you can talk to us about. But best-in-class shared services organizations should be evolving to become more strategic. And there's much more data, and there's a lot more intelligence in the data than you know that you own. Here, I think I'd like to talk about one way that you can also get more insights is an event that we're hosting in Las Vegas in September. So we host an annual event. It's great. We bring together finance leaders, procurement, merchandisers across it's in North America in Las Vegas, but they come from all over the globe, and they talk about topics such as benchmarking, technology, how you're using AI. It's a great opportunity to network. It's going to be in Las Vegas, so it's going to be fun. If you want to find out more about that, please go to PRGX.com or PRGXexchange.com, and we'd love to see you in Vegas. So with that, I'd like to thank you all for your time today and turn it back over to Susie.
Great, thank you so much, David, and thank you so much, Dawah. That was great. So we've got some questions that have come through. So let's go ahead and ask these. And meanwhile, maybe you'd like to have a demo with the PRGX team. So if you would, please tick the yes box, and maybe if you'd like a demo a bit later, go ahead and tick the second box. I'll leave that open for a little while, and let's take some questions that have come in here. So this particular viewer would like to conduct an AP audit, but they're concerned about the reception from their suppliers. So how do you recommend handling the communication with that one? Maybe we'll start with David, please.
Actually, I would like to get, Dawah, your perspective. I mean, you're really on the front lines dealing with suppliers. So how have you found an AP audit and, the supplier reaction?
No, that's a good question, and of course that is more sensitive also in the world today with scams and people trying to trick you. So what I did is I communicated with the business basically our plan to engage with PRGX and what we are going to do, and really ask for the support from our commercial stakeholders, because if we have suppliers and other people being contacted by PRGX, the first thing they do is they go to their commercial or procurement counterpart, and basically those people could immediately then call it calm down these people and saying, hey, this is not a scam, you can give that information, there's no problem with that. So that would be my advice on how to do it.
Okay.
Anything that you'd like to add there, David?
No, I mean, just that from our perspective, we work with Dawah and his team, and make sure we have authorization letters, and we're crystal clear going out to the suppliers that this is an authorized process. So we have, I mean, while there are always some suppliers that kind of feedback, I mean, in general, most people know that this is a best practice and they're familiar with it.
Great. Okay, thank you. So you referenced contract audits. What is the process that you use and what technologies are employed, please?
Okay, I think I'll take that one if that's okay.
Yeah, great. Yes,
so
please.
Again, we didn't go into detail on the contract audit. So we use NLP really to the same thing, and the newer technologies to ingest these contracts and turn them from pieces of paper on contracts with hundreds of pages and amendments into data, right? So we have a series of methods that identify specific clauses for risk and leakage points. This, across all different industries, right? So if you're a construction company, there's specific things that we do. If you're working on, labor cost and labor buildup, we have different type of processes for that. So that's kind of built into our proprietary tools, and that's what we're using. But again, if it's of interest, please reach out to us, and we'll make sure to follow up, and we can get you some more information.
Okay, great, thank you. I have some reasons to suspect fraud within my accounts payable organization. How can AP Audits help with that?
You want me? I can take that one as well, if that's okay.
Yep, sure. Thanks, David. Yeah.
So there's a couple different things that we run fraud analysis out of our standard spend and insights kind of tool stack, and so you can identify things such as same tax identification number, kind of some standard things depending on your business processes, right? Are you loading things through a portal, and does that catch these up front? You can look at individual payments, like large payments where you're getting smaller things, and then all of a sudden there might be fraud there. So what the AP audit can help with is identification of those things, and we can raise those, we can bring those back to the AP department, or more proactively, you can be using these tools to mine for these things right into the right from the tools.
Okay, all right. I think this one, let's kind of put this one to both you, David, and Dawah. So how long does it take to see results from an audit? Maybe start with you, David.
So from our perspective on a brand new client, once we get all of the data, we would expect to see results within 30 to 45 days immediately, right? Depending on, again, getting other approvals to go out and contact suppliers, going through and running our analysis on the duplicates, as well as the pricing and the PO data. But generally, it's pretty quick, around 30 to 45 days from our perspective.
Okay, Dawah, would you like to add anything to that?
No, what David said, it's very quickly. Also, PRGX circles back immediately. Hey, we found this. Is this legitimate? Do you have any inputs on that? So it's also a very thorough process in that sense. It's not like, hey, we found something and we immediately go to chase it. They also want to know our perspective and our opinion on it. Every quarter, then I also have a review of all the findings, basically, and we really go through it in more detail. But the recovery from the vendors, from customers, is basically constant, basically, and very fast.
Great. All right. How do you see AI being used in shared services in the future? So we'll put that one to David first, and then maybe back to Dawah.
So, I mean, again, I'm not an AI expert by any means, but we do see just about every company looking to leverage this, right? You know, you're looking to drive processes through more automating more repetitive tasks, right? And driving that. So I think where it's really going to be influential is driving, you know, moving that more simplistic level of things that can be automated, and then customer service areas and vendor inquiry areas, things that we can really, you know, chatbots and things are pretty prevalent already. So I think on the more basic tasks, so that the shared services organizations again can focus more on strategic things. I think that's where it's going to start. But obviously, it's only been, you know, it's very new. So I really do see that's going to expand into the same as shared services journey kind of went from first we just kind of did the tactical things, then we own the end to end, and now we're more strategic. I see the same progression for AI.
Great. Dawah, would you like to add anything to that?
No, we're using AI already in what you could also call an AP auditing environment. So in the travel and expense space, we're using AI to, in first instance, audit all the submissions of travel and expense reports, because that is pretty standard, pretty easy to read, to navigate. And then only randomly our team picks through it. Or if AI says, hey, this is a question mark, then they basically do it. For the rest, it's really in the exploration stage, AI for us. But it's certainly on our agenda.
Great. Okay, good. So let's leave it there. David, Dawah, thank you so much. And as David mentioned, we've got this PRGX has this event coming up in Las Vegas in September. So get in contact with PRGX if you'd like to join them there. And we are doing another webinar with PRGX March 6th. So please make a note of that. And I'm sure you'll get a notification from Shared Services Link. Still missing, we're going to be talking about much needed collaboration between finance and procurement. And of course, we have other webinars for you and your team coming up in the schedule as well. So please register for those. And thanks for your time today, ladies and gentlemen. It's been a pleasure having you with us, and we look forward to welcoming you next time. Thanks so much, and goodbye.